everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Alison, the online piano and the online violin tutor. So due to the success of last week's video, where I was kind of teaching you to level up with your violin skills, I've decided to do another one in a very similar style, and I'm going to be taking another piece from my Songbook One. So for those of you who don't know or don't have this book, Songbook One is the follow-on book from my 1 to 10 violin lessons. So as you all probably know, but I'm going to just say it again, I have a 1 to 30 violin course that I always let you guys know about on this channel, because I know that so many of you, I know so many of you do know about it, but I know that so many of you don't know about it. So I have a 1 to 30 violin course that guarantees to take you from a complete beginner to a very decent, accomplished intermediate player. What that basically means for you is that you will be able to play pretty much whatever you want on the violin. So there won't really be anything that's going to be holding you back, because you'll know how to read music, you'll know how to do everything on the violin. And as far as things like technical things go, and you know the technical skill side of things, you'll be taught all of that through the course, mostly in the last 10 lessons. So that's my 1 to 30 violin course. However, the first 10 lessons of that, and I'll put a link to them specifically underneath this video, the first 10 lessons are 100% free. So the videos are free to watch, and all the resources and the materials, any sheet music or anything like that that I've done to accompany any of those lessons, it's all completely free. So you have absolutely nothing to lose by trying out my violin course. So I'll put a link to the first 10 lessons underneath, but as I say, completely free. And then after you've done the first 10 lessons, and I know you're going to want to continue, because I know you're going to love the first 10 lessons. And the thing about the first 10 lessons is that, yes, they're free, so that's great. Everybody loves free stuff, but you are guaranteed to be able to play something at the end of those 10 lessons. My course moves at quite a good kind of moderate pace. You know, I don't treat my students like children, even my children, you know, my younger students, but I don't treat my adults like children as well. I like things to move on, because I understand that people want to learn at a good pace. And if, you know, you find that the videos are a little bit too quick, or something is a little bit too quick, or it's taken you a little bit longer to grasp something, and that's absolutely fine. You know, we all have kind of little bits that we're good at and bad at and things, but you can pause the video and go over it again. So that's the beauty of the course, isn't it? So it's not really costing you anything. It's not costing you a teacher's time for them to come over and explain the same thing again that they did last week. So yes, after you've done those first 10 lessons, you will then be encouraged to move on to Songbook One. Now this is available as a downloadable book only. There's nothing physical to ship out. This is just something that I've just printed out at home, and I've just bound it together. So this is a 100% downloadable book. So as soon as you've purchased, you can have your book in literally seconds. So this book is available separately to buy, but also you can buy it as a bundle, you know, with all the other books that I've got next to me, basically the 1 to 30 violin course. And it's all available at a discount, but you can buy them all separately, you know, depending on your financial status. So it's completely up to you. So after you've done lessons 1 to 10, you will be moving on to Songbook One. Now, Songbook One is fantastic because it contains 10 well-known classical pieces, all arranged by moi, but they are the exact level that you are going to be after you have done lesson 10. And that's the beauty of it. This course is accumulative information. So by the time you've done this Songbook One, you're going to be moving on to Tutorial Book One. Now, Tutorial Book One is lessons 11 to 20. After you've done lessons 11 to 20, then you're going to be going over to Songbook Two. Once you've done Songbook Two, there's a book that's too far away for me to reach that you're going to be going on to lessons 21 to 30. Actually, no, it's right here. These are the technical books. This is where you're going to learn all your technique. The first few books are where you're just getting to grips with the violin. You know what? Let's just get on with it. Let's just play some stuff. That's what I believe in. Learn to read the sheet music as you're going along, because it's the easiest way to do in the violin. Once you've got the hang of all that, then you can start doing all your technical stuff. So your last 10 lessons, 21 to 30, is where all the technical stuff comes in. And this is where all the other books kind of lack, because, you know, as everybody knows, you've got to have your fundamental technique there. You know, otherwise, you know, you need the foundations of the house. Otherwise, the house is going to fall down. And then once you've done those 10 lessons, you then move on to Songbook 3, and that is the end of the course. So I know that many of you out there have my Songbook One, and I know that some of you might be sitting there thinking, oh, but I'm already on like lesson 21 now, whatever. But you know what? It doesn't stop you going back to this. I don't think, even if you're further on in my course, it doesn't actually mean that just because you're on lesson, I don't know, 21, 27, Songbook 3, whatever, it doesn't mean to say that you can't come back to Songbook One. There are always pieces that we can nail, and I absolutely guarantee, and I bet you anything that you won't have nailed all of these pieces like you would do if you went back and did them now. So a lot of people just don't go back over old material because they think, oh, you know, we've done that, we moved on, it's too beneath us. But there's always things you can learn from easier pieces of music. Also, just before I forget, I just want to mention there's some very exciting news in that by the time this video goes live, I have a new website that will be live and up and running. Now, I know a lot of you were patrons of mine, and we've just not been happy with Patreon over the last few months, and we've decided to move away from Patreon completely. That's now gone and that's finished, and move everything that was on Patreon over to a brand spanking new website that's been designed by myself and my team. It's taken a long time to get it all up and running, which is why there's kind of been, you know, the crossover's been so long, but now the site is up and running and you'll have access to all of that fantastic sheet music that you had on Patreon, and it'll be all on my website. So it'll be the same cost, it'll still be $10 per month. You can cancel that at any time, whatever you want to do. The only difference being is that on Patreon, we had a $10 subscription and we had a $5 subscription. We got rid of the $5 subscription because it was a bit pointless, so there wasn't really enough uptake on that. So we got rid of that and we've just got the $10 subscription. However, the beauty with this new website that I am now in full 100% control of is that I can control it however I like. So if you guys feel like you want me to add anything or, you know, make any improvements, let me know. I can do that. I know I have control now, so I can do whatever I want with it. But also there's now going to be a community forum. So the forum is only available to subscription members, to silver subscription members. But yeah, if you're interested in gaining access to hundreds of pieces of sheet music for violin, backing tracks, there's some piano sheet music, bits and bobs, other things like that, then maybe you want to consider joining my new website, and I'll put the links to all of that directly underneath. Grab your Songbook One, let's get back into it. The piece we're going to be going through today is Air from Water Music Suite. Now, you've just heard me play this in the beginning of this video, so now I'm going to tell you how I would teach it. If you were in my studio paying me money to teach you how to play this, to take this from, you know, an okay meh kind of level to a really good, a very highly skilled version, then this is exactly what I would do if you were sitting right there in front of me. Obviously, I don't have the physical feedback and interaction from you, but this is how I would teach you. So I'm going to do another masterclass style video. So I know this is probably another one that a lot of you have found tricky, and I can understand why. You know, as I said last week, there are things that I've put in my book series that little sneaky things that I've kind of snuck in to just to challenge you a little bit, and a lot of that is things like bow crossings and trickier rhythms that I know that you guys are not gonna. I know that you're not going to have gotten very, very well, and I want you to go away, and now I want you to come back to this and let's polish it. So this is a bit of a speciality of me. So this is what I do. I do these masterclass type lessons, and this is what takes my students from being just, you know, the same as all the other students around them, you know, all their friends and everything, to being very, very good and very well accomplished violin players. I'm going to stop talking now. Let's just get on with it. So this is a little bit long one, so I'm going to kind of go a little bit quick with it and try not to kind of repeat things too much. But the first things first, you've got, well, two things actually. First, you've got a bit of a tricky rhythm, a dotted rhythm. So I want you to be nice and tight with that dotted rhythm. And also you've got some really weird string crossings, which obviously I can appreciate. So I'm going to help you out with those a little bit now. So Okay, so the first measure, the first bar, that rhythm, what I would suggest to you is that you do is just do that rhythm rather than trying to put it in, because you've got a lot of string crossings in there, you've got some fourth fingers, it's going to confuse things. So just do da 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 da. So you want a gap between the first and the second note. So you want a gap between the A and the C, but then the C and the F natural, you want to be quite close together. Da 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 da. And the same with the A and the G. So the same with the fourth and the fifth note. So that dotted note you've got on the A before you play the C is a much longer note than the C itself, if I'm making any sense at all there. So long, short, short, long, short, long. So long, short, long, short, long. And in between that, you're going to stop the bow. So it gets a little bit bitey. So with probably the exception of the C to the F and maybe the A to the G, but definitely on the dotted note. So on the A, you want to stop the bow before you play the C. The C to the F is fine, there's not really much gap there, so there's not really much you can do about that, so just play that as normal. Then when you're playing the dotted F, you want a bit of a gap, so you stop the bow before you play that A. So stop the bow, stop the bow. So let me just put that together properly for you. So it just gives it a bit of a da, 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 da. It gives it a little bit of a little shape. Now I know that's quite difficult to do because you've got the stopping bows and you've got the fourth fingers and you've got the string crossings. But like I say, just try it on open strings, the rhythm first. And just try and stop that bow the best you can. Okay, so I'm going to move on. So I actually used in measures 3 and 4, I actually used the fourth finger for those A's there. You can use the open string if you want to. I just chose to use the fourth finger. It's just my natural instinct to do that. I just feel it just gives a better sound rather than having a raw A string ringing out and resounding out in the middle of everything. So before I talk about anything else, I'm just going to assume that every time we see the da, 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 that dotted rhythm, that is what you're going to be doing. Otherwise I'm just going to have to repeat myself again. So every time we do that rhythm, that's what we're going to be doing. So when you're stopping that bow anyway for that rhythm, that is your excuse to do that. Now you'll just want to move that bow quickly over to the E string without making as much sound as possible. Now it doesn't matter if you make the teeny tiniest, teeny little sound, because only you are going to hear it. Nobody down the other end of the room is going to hear that. Obviously my camera, my expensive camera microphone that I've got down here is going to be picking up everything from the violin. So as much as it's not an excuse, the little teeny tiny squeak that you might hear from going from the D string to the E string, I promise you nobody will hear that, obviously except the microphone down in front of me. But ignore that. In real life you don't actually hear that. Okay, so when I'm going from that G, I'm going to pick the bow up and then play the G on the E string. So it's the same sort of thing. It's just all about stopping that bow. So again, I use a fourth finger there, just because I feel an open E is just going to sound a little bit too harsh there. I also just don't like the fact that I just don't like the sound of it. It's too harsh. So I'm going to do the fourth finger there, just because I feel the fourth finger just blends in a little bit more. Yes, the fourth finger is a little bit harder because it's fourth finger, but it will blend in a lot better. Okay, moving on to the third line. So again, it's the same thing with that string crossing. Stop the bow. You're stopping the bow anyway, so as you're stopping the bow, that is giving you the ample opportunities to move over the strings. So I don't think really there's anything to sort of say there. The fingering looks fine. The string crossings are kind of all normal. That we're not jumping over any strings just from the string next door upwards and downwards. So that's absolutely fine. Towards the end of sort of 15 and 6 bar 15 and 16, measure 15 and 16, I did again use the fourth finger exactly like I did at the end of the first line. Again, that's just my natural instinct to do that. I don't really do a lot of open A's. If I can help it. The only time I'll do an open A is if I really don't have an option. The fourth finger's not an option, or doing anything else. So other than that, I will always opt for a fourth finger, just because I feel a fourth finger always blends in a lot better. Now, I haven't put that on the music because it's one of those things that I just want to leave it to you guys to do. So when I do put fourth fingers down and open strings, and they're the ones that you've got to do, so it's non-negotiable. So you can, looking at the first measure, for example, you've got an open A, obviously, then you've got a C, then you've got an F, and then your A with the fourth finger. Now you can do an open A for that, but it's stupid. It's really stupid to do that, because or one, I should say, you're going to have that open raw string resounding out, and number two, you're crossing a string. Why cross a string, and why create all that hassle just for absolutely nothing? Okie dokie, let's move on. So halfway through 17, you've got a sort of double bar line where you're pretty much just sort of imitating what you're doing back at the beginning again. Okay, so overall then for this, the whole thing wants to be quite kind of light and airy. So no heaviness, no thickness. I mean, to be perfectly honest, when you are being quite light and gentle with the bow, the whole piece is going to lend itself towards that way anyway. But we don't want to be sort of... That's how most of you are probably going to be playing it without any further thought. Most people just go in and they just play the notes that they see, as I told you at the start, but it's not about playing the notes as you see them. It's about playing what's underneath those notes, what's not written on the music. How I hear this... So this piece requires quite high and quite good bow skill techniques, and that's what we're talking about here. So it's about the... So the other thing that I think about when I'm looking at this kind of music is, what is it? Air from Water Sweet music. So I've heard this on, I've heard this played on the radio, I've heard this played on YouTube, whatever. I know how this is played. What you could actually do is go and listen to how this is supposed to be played by a chamber orchestra on YouTube, just to get yourself a general idea. It might be played a little bit faster than this, but speed isn't really something I get too bogged down with, because I know I can always increase the speed at any time. But it's also a piece by Handel. So at the time of composing this kind of music, I know in my head the kind of flavour it's going to be. So it's more of a kind of classically type era, not quite Baroque, almost sort of, but the lower end of the classical side. We're definitely not romantic, we're definitely not modern or anything like that. So I want to play it in that kind of style as well. So that's what goes through my mind. What is this piece? What is it about? Who composed it? What would have been going on in the few years around when he composed it, and things like that. That kind of thing is something much higher end. So if I was teaching a student that was working on diploma level stuff, maybe they, for example, a good example would be a student playing something by Mozart. Mozart had a bit of an up and down kind of thing going on in his life, you know, good vibes, bad vibes, that kind of thing. He went through a period of darkness, as did Beethoven, a lot of the composers back in the day. So I would be thinking about when that specific piece was written, and what time of life was, you know, what time of life was it written? What was he going through personally when it was written? Was he going through a happy time, a dark time? Was it his younger years, his older years, that kind of thing? And if it was something when he was going through a bit of whatever it was, dark time, a lot of depression, he wrote in that kind of way, you wouldn't want to be playing that kind of piece all bright and happy. You'd want to be thinking depression kind of way, you know, in your mind, so that you're not playing it in the wrong kind of style that it wouldn't be played in. So I think that's it with this. Like I say, I could just spend hours just going through something like this. So I'll definitely do some more from this, because I think a lot of you want to nail these pieces, and it's really good to nail this kind of piece really early on in your playing before you move on to anything else, so that when you move on to some of the pieces in Songbook 2 and even Songbook 3, for example, as well as them being technically more challenging, once you've got past the technically challenging side, you can then move on to the polishing side, and that for me is the fun part. That's the be all and end all. That takes your playing from this level to, you know, this level way up there. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this video and I haven't kind of babbled on too much. I'll put all the links to all the lessons and everything underneath, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye.